paper ghost, a spare duplicate of his life, an archival eye that ordinary people did not possess, an officer's personnel file, the extract and essence of his previous self, not yet a defector, not yet a traitor. A light blue cardboard file, 225 by 330 by 25 millimeters. Even those dimensions are secret. Photo ID, file, autobiography, employment report, non-disclosure agreement, special profiling, endurance test, 3-kilometer cross-country run, character assessments, documents. He knew that after his defection, an order was promulgated, labeled top secret with 2 zeros as the number of the case document, and headed, on measures in connection with A.V. Virin's treason. He had heard such orders read out in the Secretariat about other men, all the same, as if written on carbon paper. Ideological transformation, moral collapse. Take measures to localize the consequences of treason. Only the names of the people to be punished were changed. Personnel officers, heads of education departments, heads of sub-departments, who had not shown adequate diligence and had not recognized a potential traitor in time. But he knew that in his case the public reprimands were for naught. He had served the system with more loyalty than the others, and he was more frightened than the others when the country began falling apart, and it looked as if the system would collapse with it. Virin told himself that almost 3 decades had now passed, and the information he had revealed, the agents he had disclosed, were no longer important. The agents would have been burned anyway. Someone else would have given them away, if not I. I managed to sell them in time, like currency that would soon drop in value catastrophically. Another year or two, and who would need, say, information on agents among anti-Soviet émigrés, or in the ranks of European communist parties, if the USSR itself no longer existed? Reasoning rationally, Virin thought he was relatively safe. But back beyond the border of his homeland, which he could not cross, his personnel file was like a voodoo doll into which the priest could stick his deadly needles at any moment. That is why he occasionally felt unexplained anxiety, examining arms, belly, neck, and face for unusual rashes, papillomas, those strange signs that prophetic nature sometimes sends people. During those moments, he felt there was a vague, fatal connection between flesh and paper, that the document remaining in the archives could sense, and therefore knew more than what was written on it, that it had a one-dimensional soul of a fury that could only seek and avenge. "Paper wants blood," he would whisper as he recalled how he was given heavy cardboard files, notes on operational surveillance, notes on operational resolution. Back then, he was the beater who drove the prey, not the wild game being hunted. He dealt with people who were exiled, fled, or moved to the West. They left, but their files remained in the archives. If necessary, the files were retrieved or raised. They had this expression in the service: raising out of the archives, out of the cellar, out of the depths, from the bottom. The case files had everything, thousands of pages, transcripts of telephone conversations, agent communications, surveillance reports. In the morning, the subject did not leave the house and was not visited by persons known to intelligence. At 16:05, a car drove into the building courtyard. At 10:05, the subject left the building for the bakery, where he bought a loaf of white bread. The pale letters, the typewriter ribbon was worn, seemed to reflect the weakness and anemia of those under surveillance. He remembered thousands of such lines, their ordinariness used to serve as an aphrodisiac, a visual embodiment of the power of their agency.